You have dominion over your shame. Your shame does not have dominion over you. And you choose whether you're going to let it sit and fester in your home or whether you're going to cast it out. If it is not from God, you do not have to accept it. What are some of the biggest moments from your past that bring you the biggest amount of shame? Maybe it's a romantic decision that you made in the past. Maybe it's somebody that you hurt, that you lied to, that you were malicious towards. Maybe it's a mistake that you made that seriously changed the trajectory of somebody's life. What is some shame that you carry, and how does that affect where you are today, the person that you are today? Is it holding you back? And what can we do to recover from the shame that we hold from our past? I know, pretty brutal way to start a podcast episode, but a lot of times we can underestimate the amount of shame that we carry from our past and how that weight and that burden is literally preventing us from achieving the life that lies before us, the greatness, the potential that lives inside of us. What is some shame that you carry that you need to let go of? My name is Lauren Maluhi, and welcome back to another episode of In Harmony, giving you light and encouragement to pursue the incredible life that God has for you. As we study the Bible, one of the biggest characters that probably had one of the most troubled past is the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul persecuted Christians. He was responsible for hunting them down and putting them in prison. And a lot of people, I'm sure, during his journey, try to define him by the man that he was, by the mistakes that he made, that the people that he hurt. But still, he found a way to overcome them. And in spite of his past, God found a way to use him. Out of the 27 books in the New Testament, about 13 books are attributed to the Apostle Paul. From a Christian persecutor, from hurting, putting Christians in jail, some might even argue being responsible for the murder of Christians. If God was able to use him to achieve greatness, to spread the good news, what can he do in your life? What can he do with your broken heart, with the shame that you carry? The reality is that there is potential that lives inside of you, not in spite of your shame, but because of your shame. God can still use you no matter what you've done in the past, no matter what mistakes that you've made. There is still a story that has not been finished. There is still greatness inside of you. And it's just a matter of us bringing that out. The reality is that shame will rob you of your destiny. When you think about it, the enemy's only play is to plant doubt and deceive. That's what he did with Eve in the garden. He said, but why? Did he say all trees? Why this tree? That's what the devil does in your life, is he deceives. So any mistake that you've made, maybe you've hurt somebody in the past, maybe you've made decisions that you're not proud of, he's going to try to tell you that those mistakes define you and that they make you who you are today, that you have to carry your label. But the reality is that that's just not true. The same way that a beautiful butterfly that flies and that is colorful, at one point, they were a caterpillar. A little fuzzy, slow, chubby caterpillar, fuzzy caterpillar. The greatness and the beauty that butterfly is today, what if it identified itself as the caterpillar that it was at that point? What good would that do? Because it experienced that season, does that make it where it is today? Of course not. It's a beautiful butterfly, and it's not a beautiful butterfly in spite of being a caterpillar. It's a beautiful butterfly because it was a caterpillar, because that's a part of its metamorphosis. And that's the same reality about being a human being. We are not perfect. We are not as great and supernatural as God is. And you and I have made mistakes, are probably making mistakes, and definitely will make mistakes in the future. But we have to learn how to release that chain of bondage from our life in order to achieve the greatness that God has for us, because shame will rob you of your destiny. I was speaking with this girl at church the other day, and she was in need of prayer. She looked very distressed, and she was crying over some shame that she had in her past. She was sharing with me some mistakes, and she had told me that she had people in her life currently who were defining her about the mistakes that she made in her past. And she was struggling with ripping that bondage from her life. And she told me, Lauren, I'm struggling with understanding what is from God and what isn't. What is God's voice and what isn't? If this is a punishment from God, or is this deception from the enemy? The truth is that all good things come from God. He is not a resource, but He is the source of goodness. He is not faithful to the expectations that you have for your life. He's faithful to His word. He's not good because He does exactly what I want Him to do. He's good because He is good. He's the source of good. So if there's anything in your life right now that is not good, I promise you, my friend, that is not from God. Shame is from the enemy. It is not from God. So if God didn't give it to you, you don't have to accept it. You don't have to hold on to it. The truth is that shame is like a rat that lives in your home. If the rat doesn't find food, if it's not being fed, it will leave. It's not going to stay there. So what thoughts are you feeding into your shame? You need to fill your mind with good thoughts and not bad thoughts, because if it's filled with bad thoughts, that rat of shame is going to stay there. It's going to dwell there. It's going to chill out there because you're making it a beautiful home for it to live in. You have to cast it out. It is not from God, so you don't have to welcome it and you do not have to accept it. Don't feed the shame in your life, even when other people do. The world will try to define you by your mistakes, but you have to learn how to make peace with your past before anybody else does. Personally, a lot of shame that I have in my life was from things that I think I could have done better, romantic relationships that I was in, things that I put up with, things that I overlooked, being naive, being stupid. And I remember when I had just gotten out of a difficult relationship that I carried a lot of shame from. I remember somebody making a comment to me saying, you have to be careful about the men that you date, because if there is a high value man that comes along, he's going to judge you on your past and the men that you had dated before. And I think that person was coming from a good place. I could see what they were saying. But I remember thinking, you know what? If there is a man who defines me by the people that I dated before, the mistakes that I made, I don't want to be with that person. Because it sounds weird, but I'm proud of those mistakes. I'm proud of looking stupid. I'm proud of being dumb. I'm proud of being naive, because you know what? It made me into the person that I am today. And the person that I am today is a woman who, when another woman comes to me who carries shame and who has other people trying to label her for mistakes that she made in the past, I can rebuke that and I can cast her out, and I can know exactly what to say to help her overcome it. My past doesn't make me any less valuable today. It's made me more valuable today. It's added to my value. And the truth is that there's going to be people in your life who don't see it that way. Best example is one of Jesus's disciples, Thomas, in the Bible. What do we know him as today? Doubting Thomas. Whenever we have somebody in our life who's pessimistic or who's doubtful, we say, okay, don't be a doubting Thomas. But the truth is that Thomas did a lot to advance the kingdom of God and to spread the good news. But we still define him for that moment of doubt in his life during his walk with Jesus. But how many times in our life do we have doubts? And would you want to be defined by that? No. Just because you made a mistake, just because you made a bad decision, that doesn't make you that mistake. That doesn't make you that decision. And even though other people may try to use it against you, that doesn't mean that you have to let that rat stay in your home. You have the ability to cast out that shame, and you don't have to sit with it. You don't have to accept it because it is not from God. The truth is that with shame, we have the struggle of holding on to it. It's already an obstacle for us to release it, but it's also going to be an obstacle for other people to release it. And there's going to be people who just don't and never will. But if you're at a place where you're able to make peace with your past, it doesn't matter, because that person's negativity and that person trying to label you for what you've done is going to slide right off, because it's not going to stick with you, because you're at a place in your spirit, in your heart, where you've accepted it, you've made peace with it, and you use it in order to take you to the purpose that God has for you. You found a way to switch it. Something that I've always been kind of insecure about since I was little was I've always been known as being, that sounds so like extreme. I won't say I've always been known. That sounds a little intense, but I've often been known for being naive. Some people will say, oh, you see the best in people. I don't know if it's that. I don't think I'm that good of a person, or I just see the best. But I don't know why. I tried not to lie in my life. So when other people say something, I believe them. I'm like, okay, like they're telling me the truth. And a lot of times that's hurt me in the past, and that's hurt me in my past relationships specifically, and I overlooked a lot of things. And still in my life, I have there's instances where not just people make me feel shameful about being naive, but I make myself feel shameful for being naive today, and for how stupid I was in the past and the things that I put up with. But now, if I'm being honest, my naivety, I know this sounds crazy, but I'm going to try to put it into the best words. My naivety is one of my favorite character traits. It's something that I love about myself. I love that when somebody tells me something, I see the best in it and I take it for face value. And there's times where it's used against me. There's times where it probably doesn't always work out, but I learn. And now when that person comes along, I'm like, don't trust what that person says, you know? But I'd rather be a person who is optimistic about people than someone who is pessimistic about people. And maybe that's not the case with you, but if you're able to take this difficult character trait that may be the source of a lot of shame in your life, if you're able to embrace it and switch it and find a way to make it beautiful, that's going to be much more helpful than allowing that source to be a source of shame in your life and to rob you of the incredible person that God wants you to be, the incredible destiny that He has for you. So if there's shame in your life over a character trait or a decision that you made, how can you find a way to flip it? Maybe that terrible decision is going to help you help somebody who's going through something similar. Maybe that embarrassing character trait can actually be flipped and be an asset in your workplace, in your relationship, in your friendships, in life. How can you switch that shame in your life? You have dominion over your shame. Your shame does not have dominion over you. And you choose whether you're going to let it sit and fester in your home or whether you're going to cast it out. If it is not from God, you do not have to accept it. Essentially, in order to overcome the shame that we have in our life, we have to also come from a place of humbleness. Embrace the fact that we are stupid human beings who have made mistakes in the past and are gonna make mistakes in the future. And when you're able to humble yourself and say, you know what, God, I am not you. I am not supernatural. I am not great like you are. And I'm gonna make mistakes and I'm just trying, and that's okay. It's gonna be much easier for you to release the shame that you're carrying in your life. And something that also has helped me so much when I'm feeling embarrassed or I'm sitting with shame is I literally just put it into words and pray about it. Sometimes when we're feeling these emotions, we don't even understand what the emotions are because it's so intense, it's so overwhelming, there's confusion, there's awkwardness because you're mad about yourself for feeling this way. But when you're able to dictate what these feelings are, you're able to label and have dominion over it. Sometimes that's just as simple as saying, God, I'm feeling embarrassed. Well, why do I feel embarrassed? Well, because I shouldn't have put up with that. Why did you put up with that? I put up with that because I believed that person, I loved that person, and I wanted to see the best in them. Well, why did you want to see the best in them? Because I loved them. When you're able to dictate your feelings and work back to why you made those mistakes, you have power over them, and it's much easier for you to forgive yourself. So if there is any shame that you may be experiencing in your life, simply just pray about it. Put a title to the emotions that you're feeling, and God will walk you through how to overcome them. But there is a catch to forgiveness. Ephesians 4 verse 32 says, "Be kind and compassionate to one another. Forgive each other just as in Christ for God gave you." In order for God to forgive us, we have to forgive others. The beautiful thing is that any person in your life who did you dirty, maybe they took your money, maybe they took your man, maybe they took your girl, maybe they took your job, whatever it is that you are upset at someone about. And maybe it's not that light. Maybe it's something deeper, that they abused you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, physically. If you are able to come to a place where you can forgive that person, what is the forgiveness that you can have and give to yourself during your walk with God, during your path to greatness? Along the way, all those people that hurt you, all those people that you gave your love to and that abused it or didn't treat it well, if we are able to forgive them, we are empowered, and we have power to push us forward to our greatness and to forgive ourselves along the way. There is power in forgiveness. So just as you're going to ask God to forgive you, and He will, you have to forgive others. If you want God to let go of your transgressions, you have to let go of the transgressions of others. Luke 6 verse 37 says, "Do not judge, and you will not be judged. Do not condemn, and you will not be condemned. Forgive, and you will be forgiven." So in conclusion, your mistakes do not make you, they make your story. And I was listening to a podcast episode from my editor, Chewy, and on his podcast, listen to it. It's called Con Palabras 100. And it's an amazing podcast. And he said this quote from Master Oogway in Kung Fu Panda. He's that super Zen tortoise in Kung Fu Panda. And he says, "Yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery, but today is a gift. That's why it's called the present." And no matter how corny that might sound, the truth is that yesterday is history. The shame that you carry, the mistakes that you made, the failures that you have, those things that you said, "I could have done more," that is history. And it can rob you from the gift that God has given you today. If you woke up today and you have air in your lungs, if you're able to walk to the bathroom to go and brush your teeth, if you're able to breathe in fresh air, if you're able to go to the gym, if you're able to go to work, you are blessed. You are living in a present victory. That is a gift. But the enemy is going to try to use your shame to literally rob you from your gift, like that bully in the playground. He's trying to take it from you, but you cannot let him. And the scary thing is if that we hold on to that shame, it doesn't just rob us of the gift that we have today. It's going to rob us of our gifts in the future, of the great, incredible, abundant life that God has for us. That is why it is so important for you to let go of your shame. It is going to rob you from the gift of today and your gift of tomorrow. Let your past shame go. It does not make you who you are. But like the Apostle Paul, maybe God called you not in spite of your past, but because of it. All those mistakes that you've made, all those wrong decisions that you made along the way to make you the person where you're at today, how can you use them to help somebody in your life? Open your eyes and see. Maybe there's somebody in your life who's struggling with the exact same thing that you struggled with. You are the key that they're looking for. You can be the answer, the word of encouragement, the wisdom, the advice that they need in order to overcome where they are. Isn't that beautiful? God can use your crusty, dusty, messed up past to make you a better person and to advance his kingdom, to help another person, to give another person hope. Your past mistakes isn't useless. There is value in it, not just value for you, but value for others. It is not broken. It is not trash. It is not a waste of time. It is not a waste of energy. It is not a waste of experience. It is incredible, valuable lessons and tools that you can use and that you can gift to somebody else. So don't let shame rob you of the present that you have today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next time.
So I lean on you when I've lost my way. I keep holding